Good day, everyone. Welcome to our first video lecture for beginning Greek. Hope everyone is having a good week and you're getting all of your schedule and classes and such sorted. But yeah, let's get into this first lecture without any further ado. I'll put on the slide screen here, and yeah, let's talk about Chapter 1 in the textbook, whenever you get it, but most of the important information will be here. You will not have to refer to the textbook. I'm not expecting you to have that for maybe another week or so. So I put everything up here on these slides. When we're talking about the language, this is kind of an overview of Biblical Greek and how we got there. When Alexander the Great conquered most of what was then considered the known world, Greece east through what we call the Middle East, ancient Near East at the time, and then all the way over to India. He used the language of his native land, which was, I believe, Macedonia, but they spoke Greek. They had the Greek language, and so that sort of became the standard language of Alexander's empire. When Alexander's Greek empire fell, several things happened: struggle for power, various smaller local powers arose, but then the Roman Empire really rose up and was the next world empire to take the place of Alexander's. And the Romans, being kind of the pragmatists that they were, they saw that Alexander's Greek culture and Greek language was kind of in standard use through most of what was now their empire, and they decided that instead of changing all of that to reflect Roman culture and language, they would just adopt Greek culture and Greek language. And so this became known as Hellenism, which was kind of the dominant culture of the Roman Empire. And along with this, they adopted what became known as Koine Greek. This was the language that was spread throughout Alexander and then later the Roman Empire. And this Koine really means common. Okay, and so it was a common language of that empire. They call it the lingua franca, kind of the business language, the trade language. Pretty much everybody knew their own kind of local languages and dialects, but they also knew Greek, which served to sort of unify the empire and make it so that everybody could communicate, everybody could do business with everybody else within the Roman Empire. So as we come to the 1st century CE, Common Era, we have, of course, Jesus. This is about the lifetime of Jesus, and then after Jesus' death and what Christians believe to be Jesus' ascension into heaven, we have the spread of the Christian church and the gospel message. And really, the way that all of this had played out, the Greek language was crucial to the spread of the Christian message. Now, as Christians, we believe that God can use anything, and God would have been able to, direct history and spread the message that God wanted. But certainly, it would have proceeded in a very different way, and nobody can really guess how Christianity would have spread without kind of the Romans and their infrastructure and also the Greek language there. Of course, just like, any kind of business transactions, you have transactions between Galatians and, say, Jews, or Romans and Macedonians. They could all do business because of the common language of Koine Greek. This also made it really good for Christian missionaries because, of course, all of the earliest Christians were Jews, and before this, if they were all spread out and everybody had their own local language, and the Jews still mainly spoke Hebrew, very few people in the rest of the empire would have known how to speak Hebrew. And so the fact that now you have this common language made it possible for these early Christian missionaries to go out beyond the borders of Palestine and Israel, spreading out, from that original cluster of the 12 apostles and then, the earliest followers in Jerusalem, going even beyond the borders of Palestine into the entire empire. And having this common language certainly made it easier for them to communicate the message of Christianity and the story of Jesus. The Roman infrastructure, roads, safe travels, over land or sea, this enabled things like Paul's great missionary journeys and his letter writing, being able to send his letters. In some of Paul's letters, and he says that he's sending this letter with so-and-so, or he got a letter from, say, the Corinthian church. He had somebody delivered it to him. And so all of these things made it possible for Christianity to spread. Without that, who knows how, how Christianity would have been spread. So that's a bit about biblical Greek and what Greek meant to the Bible. Of course, the entire New Testament is written in Greek. And so now we're going to get into a bit about the language itself. In Greek, there are 24 letters total. 25 if you count. There's one letter, sigma, that has two forms. And so there's 25 letter forms, but 24 letters total. And for this class, there are Greek uppercase and lowercase letters, but in the scope of this class, we will only be focusing on the lowercase letters. Uppercase letters are used very infrequently. They are used, for example, to begin names. Okay, like English, you capitalize the first letter of a person's name in Greek. Greek has no quotation marks, and so in a lot of the printed Greek Bibles that you get a hold of, the way that you know that a quotation has started is that it will start off with a capital letter. The first letter of a chapter, the first letter of the New Testament books are typically capitalized. But those are kind of the times that you would find, uppercase letters. Really, the majority of what you'll be doing in translation is going to be lowercase, so we're going to focus on those only. The earliest manuscripts, interestingly enough, although I just said we're going to be focusing on lowercase letters, with the earliest Bible manuscripts, these are the manuscripts that we have that we think are from the 2nd century through about the 5th or 6th century. Those manuscripts were written only in uppercase letters. Also, annoyingly enough, there are no spaces between words. There are no punctuation marks to tell you when a sentence ends. And I've put here an example. John 1 verse 1, if you write it out only in uppercase letters and give no spaces or punctuation marks, this is what it looks like. And good luck figuring out what any of that means. If I came to this cold and I didn't know what verse or where this came from, I wouldn't really know how to read this, even with my experience reading Greek. In Greek, this says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God," and that's all that I could fit. So that's what it would look like if you were reading one of these old manuscripts. Of course, also you have the complication of this being all handwritten, and kind of the oldest ones scratched out on papyrus books, with little papyrus leaves, and somebody using a sharp instrument to carve letters into papyrus. Later on, they used parchment, sort of this dried out leather, and again, people scratching these letters into them. So how people ever figured out how to read these, I don't know. That's a lot more academic dedication than I think I have. But thankful for them, because now we have English translations of the Greek manuscripts. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch the video, and it will be a demonstration of the Greek letters, and I'll be going over how to write them and also what the letter's name is and the pronunciation. If you have received the email attachment that I sent out yesterday, you will have all of the Greek letters there and kind of the names of the Greek letters, and I believe I also included a pronunciation guide. Okay, so you can follow along on that, but also pay attention to this demonstration of how I am going to write the letters so that you can also write out the letters in Greek. Alright, so let's talk about how you form these letters. Again, the Greek alphabet has 24 letters, and often they look and they sound a lot like English letters. So really just take note of the exceptions, and you should be mostly fine. Alright, but let's start off. The first letter is called alpha. Okay, alpha. And alpha is done as pretty much a lowercase a. There's a couple of ways that you can do it. If you start out just in the middle of a line here, we're going to take your starting point there. We're going to go down to the bottom of the line, come back up around, and make sort of a rounded A, or kind of a round fish shape. Okay, and that is your lowercase alpha. Also, I don't mind in a lot of the fonts, the alpha just looks pretty much like a lowercase a, and so if you do it that way, kind of start out in the middle, just go down around like that, that's fine also as an alpha. Okay, I usually do it this way, just to kind of distinguish it from an English a. Okay, but if that way is easier for you, go ahead and do that. Okay, that is the first letter. Again, it's called alpha. And you should be able to find that on your sheet as well. I've given you that, the alphabet sheet. Okay. All right, your second letter is going to be called beta. Beta is pronounced like an English B, and it looks pretty much like an English B. Okay. In modern Greek, this letter is called vita, and it's actually pronounced like a V, but here it's pronounced like a B in boy or bicycle. Okay. For this one, beta, we're actually going to start out below the line. So here is your starting point for beta, down below the line. We're going to start out below, then come all the way up, okay, like this. Then you're going to round off the top, and then come around to make, pretty much a rounded English B. Okay. So it takes up the entire line and actually starts below. I'll do that again. Hopefully this is not blocking too much of your view. You can see this on the video, but we're going to start down below here. Come all the way up to the top, curve around, and beta. Okay, beta. Again, that hard English B sound. And then your next letter is called gamma. Okay, this is a hard G, gamma. And it looks a little bit like a G, but more like a Y, actually. So we're going to start here in the middle. That's your starting point there. Start in the middle of the line, and then drop below it. Make a loop. And go up like that. Okay. One more time. Starting here for gamma. I'm going to go down, drop down here, and you see I'm curving around, so I'm going to curve, make that curve around, and then up like that. Gamma. Hard English G. Girl or grass. Okay, those kinds of words. The fourth letter of the Greek alphabet is called delta. It is pronounced like an English D, delta, and it's going to look a lot like an English D also. So we're going to start up here, near the top, maybe most of the way to the top here, and then we're going to curve around this way. You see how my line is going there? Then we'll drop down, make a nice rounded curve, drop down to the bottom of the line, and finish it off, just like a rounded English D. Okay, I'll do it again. We're going to start up here, make a little hook, start moving to the left and make a little hook there. Come down, nice and curvy, and there we go. Okay, delta, like dog. Okay, dog. Next letter is called epsilon. And epsilon is a short E sound, what would that be? Something like egg, epsilon, short E. And this one, there's a couple of ways you can do this one, okay? But both of them, they're going to start in the middle of the line. And the first way, the easiest way probably, and the way that I usually do this, is basically make a backwards 3. Okay, a backwards 3, and really that should go down to the bottom of the line there, like that. Okay, epsilon. You can also do it this way if this is easier or nicer for you. You can start here, make a C, and then make a line in the middle. Okay, epsilon. Couple of ways that you can do that one, and it doesn't matter to me which one you do, whichever one you like better. Alright, next letter is called zeta. Okay, there's a couple of ways that you can pronounce this one. Some people have said that this probably was pronounced something like a Z and a D sound. Zdata, kind of like wisdom. Okay, so zdata. There are some others, confusingly, who will switch those sounds around and say it was more like a DZ sound, dzeta. For the purposes of this class, let's just make this simple and pronounce zeta just like an English Z. Okay, Canadian Z. Okay, we're going to start up here. Be careful with this one. I'll do this one a couple of times for you, and I'll do it really slowly, because this one doesn't look like anything in English. Okay, but we're going to start up here. Again, close to the top, not quite up right at the top, but close to the top, kind of like delta, okay? But in this one, we're going to go the other way, kind of make a loop that starts down. Then we're going to go around up to the top. And you notice I'm coming around, so we're going to come around and drop down, all the way down to the bottom. And then this one has kind of a little tail that extends below the bottom of the line. Okay, zeta, like the English zebra. Okay, again, we'll start out here. Gonna go around, up at the top. We're gonna come down, drop all the way down to the bottom here. And right before you get to the bottom, you can start moving around like this and give it that little tail. Okay, zeta. After zeta, we come to another vowel, and it's an E sound vowel, but this is going to be a long E. Okay, we had epsilon before, which is the short E, epsilon. This is now going to be the long E, eta. Okay, eta, like the E in obey, or that kind of particle or conjunction word that Canadians put on the end of a lot of sentences. A. Okay, eta. We're going to start out in the middle of the line there. Make kind of a candy cane shape there. Drop down to the bottom of the line and go back up. Make basically a cursive N type letter. Okay, except it has this one leg that extends down below the line. This is an example of a letter that you're going to need to be careful with, at least in the beginning here, as we're just learning to read Greek. This letter looks a lot like an English N, and so you're going to be tempted to read an N there, but it is actually an E sound, okay, the long E sound, eta. Okay. Again, the E in obey, a, eta. Okay. Again, start out in the middle, make a short hook or candy cane shape, down to the bottom of the line, go back up to the middle, and a nice rounded N with a longer leg. Okay. Eta. Our next letter is something called a double sound, okay, or double, I think it's called a double consonant. Okay, it has two sounds in it. This letter is called theta, and what we're going to do with this one, it starts up at the top, okay, pretty much at the very top. This is just a TH sound, okay, and it's the unvocalized TH, so it's going to be like thin. And what we're going to do with this one is draw a nice oval shape starting at the top, come back around like that, and then make a line, draw a line pretty much straight through the middle, and that is the letter theta. Okay, a soft TH sound. Some fonts will not make it closed up here. Okay, and sometimes when I'm writing, if I'm writing Greek and I'm writing really fast, and I'm being kind of careless, yeah, I'll make that kind of open up at the top. It'll end up looking kind of like that. Okay, but the important thing is get that oval shape and then the line through the middle. Our next letter is iota. It is spelled like this, and you might have, we kind of have this in English, okay, and usually it's pronounced like iota. I don't care one iota about that, okay, but in Greek, at least in biblical Greek, this is pronounced with a short I sound, so it's going to be E, iota. Fortunately with this one, it looks very, it should be very familiar. Just kind of like that, kind of a rounded, curvy, but pretty much like a lowercase I in English. This one in Greek does not have a dot. Okay, so just remember it's kind of a curvy I with no dot. And there you have the Greek equivalent of I, okay, iota. Iota. And I believe the textbook gives the example, pronunciation example as the I in machine, E, machine, okay, iota. So once again, start in the middle of the line, just make like a little bit of a curve there, down to the bottom, and that's iota. I'll do one more letter here. Next letter is called kappa, kappa, and this one is really simple. Hard K sound, king, kite. And sounds like an English K, and it looks like an English K. Start in the middle, go down to the bottom, and just make that. Okay, kappa. Again, start in the middle, pretty much a straight line down, and we're going to go like that. After kappa, we have the letter lambda, and it sounds just like an English L. Okay. Lamb, or long, like. And for lambda, we're going to start up here, at or pretty much near the top there. Do a diagonal line down to the right, then start another line right in the middle and go the opposite way. Okay. Lambda. Once again, we're going to start at or near the top, draw a diagonal line down to the right, and start in the middle of that line that you just drew, and down to the opposite diagonal. Lambda. After lambda is the letter mu. Mu. And mu sounds exactly like an English M. Okay. Mother, moon. To start mu, we're going to start down here below the line and go up to the middle. And from here, we're going to basically draw a U. Okay. Looks kind of like an M, but really it looks a lot like a U, just with this kind of long tail there. Okay. Once again, here I'll start down below the line, go up to the middle, and then draw a U. Okay. Mu. Mu. It sounds exactly like an English M. Alright, after mu is the letter nu. And this sounds like an English N. Okay. No. What else? No, or name, or not. Okay. Be careful with this one. This can be kind of confusing. It sounds like an English N, but it looks exactly like an English V. Okay. So we're just going to start at the middle and just draw a V, kind of a small V. Okay. So once again, the Greek letter that looks like an English V is actually nu, which is pronounced like an N. So that does not say V for victory, that is nu, like in November. After nu, we have another double consonant. It has kind of two sounds in one letter. And fortunately, it sounds exactly like an English letter. This sounds like the English letter X, okay, as in the X in taxi or X-ray. The letter's name is Xi, okay, just X-I, Xi. And so, you're going to pretty much get like a K and an S sound together. Okay, Xi, like an X. Even though it's pronounced like an English X, and it's pretty simple that way, it does not look like an X, and really it doesn't look like much of anything that we have seen before. So let's start up here, near the top. Give yourself a little bit of room there. It's not right up at the top of the line, but it's kind of just below. And I'll do this one really slowly, and I'll try and pull my hand away so it's not blocking you at all. But this one, we're going to go over like this, okay, to the right. And notice I'm kind of curving up already, so we're going to curve up here, and then come down. Oh, I need to make that a little bit longer. Okay, it should have a little thing there. Okay, curve to the middle and loop around. Okay, then loop down here, and at the bottom of the line, give it a little tail. Okay. So once more, the direction that this is going to go, we're going to start up here near the top, okay, and come down and loop around, then make a loop in the middle, and then down to below the line and give it a little tail there. Okay. Once more, I'm going to start up here right near the top. I'm going to do this over and down to the middle, curve around, and give it that nice little tail there. Okay, Xi. After Xi, we have the letter Omicron. Literally, this is O. And if you think about what that means in English, that, microscope, micron, those kinds of words. Okay, this means small. Okay, so this literally small o. Okay, Omicron. Omicron, small o. And this looks exactly like a small o. Okay, just kind of a half-sized o. Again, just draw an o. Okay, Omicron. This is a short o sound. And so it's going to be the O in omelette. Okay. That starting O in the word omelette, omicron. Okay, so this is your short or small O, omicron. The next letter should be very familiar. If you've ever taken a math class, in any kind of intermediate or advanced math class, this one will be very familiar. Just two lines like that, and then something that connects it at the top. So everybody knows what this is, right? Pi. 3.1415, etc. Okay. In Greek, we're going to say this a little bit differently. Okay, this is not pi. Pi in Greek is something that you eat, at least in our Greek class. Okay. This is P. Okay, just like the English letter P. Again, that in Greek, that I is always going to be short, so it's not pi, it's P. But yeah, again, just like the mathematical symbol, one line here, one line there, and connect them. P. After P is going to be the letter rho. Rho is said like an English R. Okay. Rat, or I don't know, rebate, R. It is said like an English R, but here's another confusing one. We're going to start down below the line, go up to the middle, curve around, and yes, this looks like an English P. Looks like a P, but it's pronounced like an R. Okay, this is the letter rho. Rho, but it looks just like a rounded P. Okay, start below the line, come up to the middle, and just round it off. Okay, rho. After rho is the letter called sigma, and sigma is unique in Greek. Okay, it is the only one that does this. If you go on to study Hebrew, or if you are studying Hebrew this year, in Hebrew there are a number of letters that do this. Okay, but sigma has two forms. All right, and why does it have two forms? Well, if you see sigma at the beginning of a word or in the middle of a word, it's going to look like this. Okay, we're going to start in the middle of the line here. Okay, and we're going to drop down to the bottom and come around and round it off there. Okay, kind of make a longer line there. Okay, and that is the letter sigma. That is sigma again at the beginning of a word or in the middle of a word. If it comes at the end, and only if it comes at the end, sigma looks a little bit different. Okay, if it is at the end of a word, we're going to start out in the middle here, go around to the bottom, and make basically an English S, but that part here on the bottom is a little bit shorter than this one at the top. Okay, so sigma, the regular form of sigma, again, looks like this. Just come around and like that. Okay, and then the final sigma, this is called final sigma. Start here and just come around here like this and make an S, but with a shorter second curve there. All right, so for example, here is a word. Okay, I hope you can see that. But this word here, notice, has a sigma, but it's an end sigma, and so it looks like that. Okay. If we have, let me see if I can think of a word. Yeah. There, sigma begins this word. Here you have the beginning sigma, and here you have the ending sigma. All right, so two forms of this one letter. Both of them are the letter sigma, which sounds exactly like an English S. So snake or song. After sigma, we have the letter tau. Okay. Start in the middle of the line and go down to the bottom, kind of making a little curve here, and then just cross it in the middle, and it looks like an English T, and it's pronounced exactly like an English T. Like the word tea, I drink my tea, okay, or taste. All right, last few letters here. After tau is the letter upsilon. Okay, towards the beginning of the alphabet, we have the letter epsilon, and here towards the end of the alphabet, we have upsilon. Upsilon is going to be said just like in English U, oo, and it pretty much looks like a U. Okay, we're going to start here in the middle and go make just a little tiny hook there. Come down to the bottom and make it nice and curved on the bottom, and there you have upsilon. So once more, I'm going to start in the middle, little hook towards the top, and then drop towards the bottom, and make it nice and rounded on the bottom. Okay, be careful with this one. If you're in a hurry, it can sometimes start looking like that. Okay, and then you can't really tell what letter that is. That looks kind of like a nu. Okay, or it could be an upsilon also. Okay, so be careful right down here. Okay, don't get into too much of a hurry and start pointing your upsilons or rounding off your nus. Okay, make sure the nu is nice and pointy on the bottom and the upsilon is rounded. Okay, upsilon. It is like the English U in like a lute. Okay, a medieval bard or somebody might play a lute. Oo. So you have upsilon. All right, after upsilon, we have a letter called phi. Okay, phi, and this is usually written PH. Okay, it's spelled PHI, phi, but it's the PH as in like physics, okay, or phonics. Pretty much an English F sound. You can think of it that way. Okay, physics or phonics or just fly. The F in fly. Okay, how we're going to do this? We're going to start in the middle here. Make a circle, and as you get to the top here, curve around and drop it down below the line. Maybe mine got a little bit crooked there. It's really can be just straight down. Okay, so kind of like that is maybe a little bit better. Another way that you can do this, and it's printed this way too, it's just a circle with a slash through it. That's another way that you can write the letter phi. Okay, after phi is a letter that really doesn't have an English sound that corresponds nicely to this. It is probably closest to the CH in the Scottish, like Loch, like Loch Ness, okay, or the German CH, like in Bach. It's kind of a really guttural, kind of harsh sound. You kind of make a K sound, but then kind of push it through your throat. Okay, key. If you want to just pronounce it like a hard K, like a K and an H together, okay, key, that's probably fine. We're distance learning this quarter, but normally I would tell students, be careful when you're saying this letter that you don't give your neighbor an inadvertent shower, okay, and just spit all over them. But key, to make a key, we're going to start up at the top, okay, pretty much at the top. I started that a little bit low. Go down here to the bottom, and then just make an X. And it's a little bit stylized, okay? It's not just like a straight X, like a straight line this way, straight line that way. It's kind of loopy, and but yeah, again, start out here and make kind of a diagonal there. Okay, put a little bit of a curve, maybe at the top and the bottom, and then not quite all the way at the top. Okay, key. This, by the way, is the letter that begins the name or title Christ. Okay. So Jesus Christ, Christ is, this letter is the beginning letter of that. All right, our last couple of letters here. After key is the letter psi. Okay, psi is just a P and an S sound sounded together. Okay. Lapse. We don't really say this in English. Okay, if you have a PS together, it's usually you just say an S sound, right? Psionics or something like that. Yeah. We usually just don't say the P, but in Greek we will say the P, okay? It's really a PS, psi. To do a psi, make a U, okay, a kind of half-height U there, and then draw a line pretty much straight through it, straight through the middle of that. Okay. Once again, psi, I'll start here in the middle. Go down, make a U, nice curvy U, and then draw a line through the middle. Okay, psi. All right, now if I have counted correctly and I haven't forgotten anything, this is the last letter now, and this one is pretty famous. You will have heard this very famous statement from the Bible: I am the Alpha and the Omega. Okay, alpha being the beginning letter of the alphabet, and omega being the final letter. And so we've come to that, the final letter, omega. As I put before, Omicron was O micro, okay, micro O, so small o. Omega is literally O. It's mega O, okay, big O. And so this is going to be your long O, and this is pronounced O, and it's written like a cursive W, okay, a rounded cursive W. So be careful with this one. It looks a lot like a W, but it is pronounced O, okay, the long O, like what, gold, that O in gold. So once again, let's start in the middle of the line here. Just go down, around, make a W, and there you have omega. Okay, this is the long O in Greek, as contrasted to omicron. Okay, omicron, omicron short, and omega long. Alright, so there is your Greek alphabet. 24 letters starting with alpha and ending with omega. Alright, so I hope that was clear enough. Yeah, I'm sorry about the lighting. Lighting was just not really great, but I couldn't figure out a much better way to do that. I've got my camera set up here in the office, and yeah, the lighting isn't great and you've got all that glare and stuff. But I hope you were able to see that, and that it was, I was able to make that pretty clear. If you have any questions, please, yeah, feel free to ask me, and I can maybe put together, a more targeted demonstration or something. But yeah, now that you have seen how you write and form all of these letters, hopefully you're getting a little bit comfortable with the sounds of the letters and recognizing them. Just a few notes on some of these special letters and sounds. Again, the letter sigma, that S sound, has two forms. One that is used for sigma that appears at the beginning or in the middle of a word, and then another one that appears at the end, and only if sigma appears at the end does it look like that. That sort of weird lopsided S. Okay. But yeah, that is the sigma. As I mentioned, I believe in the video, if you go on to study Hebrew, you're going to run into a lot more of those. Hebrew has, I don't exactly remember, but maybe 4 or 5 of those letters that have one form for the end of the letter and then a separate form for any other place. All right. Something that I need to mention, the letter gamma, okay, the third letter of the alphabet after alpha and beta, we come to gamma, and gamma comes in a few combinations. Okay, if you just have a gamma in the word and it's sitting out there by itself, you just pronounce it like a hard English G. Okay, again, like gold or girl or, anything like that, that hard G sound. But if gamma comes in these combinations, it alters the sound a little bit. Okay, so if you have two gammas right next to each other, this is now pronounced like the ng sound. Okay, that ng sound, as in the word angle. Okay, so that ng sound in angle. And so this word I have here up on the screen, epsilon, the double gamma, and then upsilon sigma. Okay, this word is pronounced engus. Okay, if it just had the gamma, it would be egus, but with the double gamma, it is engus. Okay, that ng sound. Not super common, but you will see this in a few words, and I'll point those out when when they come up. One of the most common words in the New Testament, the word for angel or messenger, is the word angelos, and it has the double gamma. The next combination with gamma is gamma and kappa. Okay, and this one is like the NC combination in the word uncle. Okay, so it's now nk, uncle, and that's the gamma kappa sound. The sort of explanation word here, the example word is eta nu epsilon, gamma kappa alpha. Okay, so you see the gamma kappa combination there. This word is pronounced a nenka. Okay, a nenka. The gamma kappa combination. And then the last one here is gamma and ki. And as I talked about in the writing the letters video, this ki sound doesn't really have an English equivalent. Okay, it is the equivalent of, say, the German, that sort of guttural German sound like Bach. Okay, and it's like it really sounds like you're clearing your throat. Okay, the Scottish Loch Ness. So this one has no English equivalent because we don't really have a sound for ki. But it is again that sort of dragged N sound, but then going into the ki. Okay, so it would be something like yeah. And yeah, be careful with this one. You're gonna spit all over your keyboard or something like I just did. But yeah, the gamma plus the ki, the kind of explanation word that I have here is a great word. Okay, this word here in the New Testament means entrails or bowels or like your intestines, but it is used as the like seat of your emotions and feelings in the Greek sort of Hellenistic world. They did not think of your feelings as being located in your head as we do now, or in your heart as we do in like your poetic writings. No, the seat of your emotions was in your bowels, and so Paul, he says something like, when I think about all of you, I am moved in my bowels with compassion for you, and I feel it in my bowels with this gift that you have sent me. And you know, and if you're writing like a love letter to a significant other, maybe don't use the ancient Greek poetic language there. Thinking of you moves me in my bowels has a very different connotation now in the 21st century. But this word is sigma p lambda alpha, then the gamma key combination, nu alpha. Okay, and this is a plural word, and so yes, it means bowels or entrails, and it's pronounced splankna. Okay, splankna. That ink sound. Again, if it's just too difficult or it just sounds too kind of yucky to make that rolled key sound, it's probably fine if you just pronounce this like a really hard K, like a very aspirated KH sound. So nk is probably fine too. All right, so those are your special combinations with gamma. Now let's move on from the consonant gamma combinations to some discussion of Greek vowels. Okay, you have the Greek vowels. We went over those in the drawing out the letters video. You have alpha, epsilon, eta, then iota, omicron. What else is there? Upsilon and omega. Okay, and those are the Greek vowels. A diphthong, funny word here, it's pronounced diphthong, and this is a combination of two vowels that makes a single sound or counts as a single syllable. Okay, and like Greek, English has a number of these, and a lot of the English ones are similar to the Greek ones. Okay, I have put here as an example alpha and upsilon. Alpha makes a sound ah, upsilon makes a sound oo. But when you put those two together, this is now a diphthong, and this combination of vowels now says just ow. Okay, you do not split them up and say ah oo. Okay, as you would if you had, just an alpha and upsilon sound together, it would be ah, oo. But because it is a diphthong, now this combination of vowels says the sound ow. I've put here that not all vowel combinations are diphthongs. Only the 7 combinations that are listed on this slide are diphthongs. All right, epsilon iota, you see, is on the slide. It's the second one down from the top on the 7 Greek diphthongs right down there. Epsilon iota is a diphthong, and it says a. Okay, it's pronounced a. But you flip those around, and if you have iota epsilon, it is not a diphthong. Okay, so epsilon iota says a. Iota epsilon is not a diphthong, so you would pronounce those two vowels separately. Iota is e, and epsilon is e. So with iota epsilon, it would be e-e. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how they decided which one of these made diphthongs, which ones didn't, okay, why they pronounce them this way, but yeah, epsilon iota is pronounced a. You don't pronounce them separately. It's not e, it's a, but iota epsilon is e-e. All right, now that's out of the way. Let's talk about the 7 Greek diphthongs and the pronunciation of them. All right, first one, alpha iota is the AI and I'll. Okay, so I, alpha iota. Epsilon iota is A, as in 8, A. Then you have Omicron iota. This one is pronounced oi, as in oil. I mentioned in the kind of introductory Zoom meeting, my wife is from Australia, and in Australia they have this kind of greeting. I don't know, you don't have people like walking around the mall like shouting this, but I think in places like, you know, if you're at the Olympics or something and there's lots of national spirit or something, somebody would call out Aussie, 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 somebody else would respond then, oi, oi, oi. Okay, and I don't know what that means, but that's the sound that this makes. Okay, Omicron iota is oi, like you're responding to somebody in Australia and you say oi, oi, oi. Okay, Omicron iota. Next one is upsilon iota. All right, upsilon iota. This one is oui. Okay, kind of like the French word for yes. Okay, oui. Or yeah, that the UI in sweet. Okay, the word sweet. Yeah, that's upsilon iota. Okay, oui. Next one is epsilon upsilon. Okay, epsilon upsilon is the EU in feud. Okay, so this says basically you. Yeah, just like, you know, eulogy, any kind of English word that begins with that EU sound, okay, or EU letters, U. And then the last one, Omicron upsilon. This is pronounced oo, okay, as in soup, oo. All right, so those are your 7 Greek diphthongs. I, a, oi, we, you, and oo. Alright, so get those down really well in some of the quizzes that I would normally give in for the first chapter. Some of the exercises would be to identify diphthongs. Okay, so I'd put a bunch of combinations of vowels out there. Some of them would be diphthongs, alpha iota, omicron iota, okay, omicron upsilon, and then some of them would be not diphthongs but combinations. Okay, so for example, iota omicron is not a diphthong. Okay, the other way flipped around, omicron iota is, but iota omicron is not. So be able to identify those and know which combinations fall into that category. All right, moving on from letters. These are not really letters now, but they're kind of like punctuation or just little marks that will help you pronounce words. Okay, as I said before, Greek in its oldest forms, there were no punctuation marks. There were no, no anything to like help you pronounce it. All of the words kind of ran together. But as people were trying to learn this language, okay, as like the empire spread out, and there became this effort to like teach people this unified single language. You had a bunch of people, for example, Jews down in Palestine, originally spoke Hebrew or Aramaic, and now they have to learn Greek as a second language. You had this complication, okay, like how on earth do we read this? How do we say this? And so you had this development of first lowercase letters that made it easier to write, and then these marks and pronunciation and kind of pronunciation helps to help people know, how to say these words and how to distinguish words from one another. And the first set of these that's very important are called breathing marks. Okay, breathing marks will always appear anytime you have a word that starts with a vowel or a diphthong. Okay, I've put here breathing mark always go over the initial vowel or diphthong, and I underlined always because, yeah, anytime you have a word that begins with a vowel or a diphthong, it must have a breathing mark over that first vowel or diphthong. All right. As we go into the year, as we progress into the year, if we ever meet again as a class and you're filling out quizzes and tests, I will remind you of this, and I normally make it a policy to require you to have these. Okay, and if you forget them, it's not a huge deal. I'll take off maybe like half a point on a quiz or a test, so it's not a huge deal. But I'll just take off, yeah, like a small amount, and I'll put a mark there that just says, remember your breathing marks. Okay, these are considered a part of the spelling of the word, so make sure you get these. Okay. Yeah, and pretty much any Greek course that you go to, that seems to be a standard policy that you have to have these, because it can change the meaning of words a lot if you miss them or if you get the wrong one. There are two of these breathing marks called smooth and rough. Okay, the smooth breathing mark and the rough breathing mark. The first one is called the smooth breathing mark, and I have these both over an alpha. The breath mark is that little mark that's over the alpha in the parentheses. Okay, and if you notice, the smooth breathing mark is the one it kind of opens. If this is like a mouth, it is opening to the left. All right, and you can see that the smooth breathing mark on this font, it kind of looks like, what is that, like an apostrophe, okay, in English. So it kind of curves around, and the curve kind of opens to the left there. And if you see that, it is a smooth breathing mark, and you would just pronounce the vowel sound. Okay, this does not have any effect on the pronunciation of that vowel, the beginning vowel. If you saw this in a text, alpha with a smooth breathing mark over it, you would just pronounce the vowel sound alpha, which is ah. Okay, just pronounce the vowel sound. In this case, it would be ah. Okay, alpha with a smooth breathing mark. Now the next one is what's called the rough breathing mark, and you will notice, if you need to kind of look closely on that one, this one just opens the opposite way. Okay, if it's an open mouth, the mouth is opening to the right with the rough breathing mark. Okay, kind of an inverted or mirror image now of the smooth breathing mark. When you see this one, the rough breathing mark, this one is less common, but when you see this one, you will pronounce the vowel sound, but you will put an H sound before the vowel. Okay? In this example, an alpha with a rough breathing mark over it, you would then pronounce it ha. Okay, an H sound before the alpha sound. Ha. Okay. If this is a rough breathing mark with an omicron, it would be ha. Rough breathing mark with an iota, it would be he. A rough breathing mark over a diphthong would be something like the diphthong omicron upsilon, which normally says oo. With a rough breathing mark, that would be who. All right, so those are the rough and smooth breathing marks. If what begins a word is just a single vowel, you'll just put the breathing mark over that vowel. But if your word begins with a diphthong, the last point on this slide here, you would put the breathing mark over the second vowel. Okay, again, the diphthong is that combination of two vowels. And if you have the diphthong beginning the word, you put the breathing mark over the second vowel. And I've put some examples here. The first word there, alpha, upsilon, tau, eta. Notice this does start with a diphthong. Alpha, upsilon is a diphthong. And if you look closely on that one, this one has a rough breathing mark over the upsilon. So pronounce the diphthong, ow, but you pronounce an H in front of it because it's rough breathing, how. Okay, and so this word here is pronounced haute. Okay, haute. And this word, if just in case you're curious, this word means this. Yeah, it's a word for this one, in Greek. Okay, the second word there, epsilon, iota, rho, eta, nu, eta. Okay. It begins with a diphthong, epsilon iota. Okay, is a diphthong. And so this one is now a smooth breathing mark. This one just pronounced a. Okay, a, re, ne is how you say this word. Okay. Again, smooth breathing mark, just pronounce the diphthong sound. So this one is a, re, ne. And this is a Greek word that means peace. It's also where we get the girl's name, Irene. So if you know anybody named Irene, yeah, her name is the Greek word for peace. Okay, in Greek you pronounce it eirene. Last word there, omicron, upsilon, rho, alpha, nu, omicron, and the final sigma form there. Okay, because sigma appears at the end, you get the final sigma. And this one has a smooth breathing mark over the upsilon, over the diphthong, omicron, upsilon. And so that diphthong is pronounced oo. So this is pronounced uranos. Okay, uranos. This is the word for sky or heaven. Now I've put here on the slide an example. Hieron, this word, it does not begin with a diphthong. If you remember, iota epsilon is not a diphthong, and so you'll notice that the breathing mark comes only on the iota. Okay, because this is not a diphthong, it will only appear over that first vowel, and the way you pronounce this is the iota epsilon are separated. Okay, so rough breathing mark, he, ron. Hieron. Word for temple. All right, so that is the breathing marks. Again, those will always appear over the initial vowel or diphthong if a word begins with one of those, okay, a vowel or a diphthong. Moving on now from breathing marks, we have a number of what we call punctuation marks, and then this word diacritical marks. I'll get into that when we start the discussion. But punctuation marks, of course, this is just, telling you like when to take a breath, like to take a pause, or to, that this is the end of a complete sentence, it's the end of, a thought. The Greek comma and period will look and function in the exact same way as they do in English. All right, a comma looks exactly like an English comma, a period looks like the English period, no difference there. There is, however, a difference in the Greek question mark. Annoyingly enough, I don't know why this is, but the Greek question mark looks exactly like the English semicolon, so that will take some getting used to. All right. Another thing is the colon. Okay, the Greek does have a colon, and it looks like the English colon, except instead of two dots, the Greek only has the upper dot, but my font could not produce that, and so I didn't put that on here because I figured that would be confusing. Okay, it doesn't appear very much, fortunately. But yeah, the Greek colon kind of just taking a bit of a, it's just a bit of a pause. It's not the end of a sentence, but it's a bit of a pause, but it's a longer pause than, say, a comma or a semicolon. Okay, but that one just looks like an English colon, but it's only one dot. It's kind of the upper dot of the colon. All right, so those are the punctuation marks. Most of them look exactly the same as in English, but then, yeah, you have these other two, the question mark and the colon look a little bit different. As we start translating, it's pretty easy, I think, for students to make that switch, but you just have to get used to it, and it just takes a little bit of practice. Okay, but yeah, going on from punctuation marks, now we get to this group called diacritical marks. Now, what on earth is this? Okay, a diacritical mark. Diacritical marks are these markings that typically appear over the letters, and they help you in pronunciation. Okay, it's like I said, when we're teaching Greek as a second language to somebody, there may be some of these words, particularly words that are imported from other languages, and so they kind of break the normal rules of Greek, and so you would have these things to help people who are learning the language. Okay, probably a native speaker wouldn't need it, but, as people are learning, and fortunately for us, as we're learning, we have these kind of marks to help us out. By far the most common one is the first one here mentioned, the apostrophe. Okay, and it appears in a very standardized way. This diacritical mark, the apostrophe, it indicates that a letter has been removed, okay, omitted or dropped from a word. And it's normally done just to make pronunciation smoother. Okay, if you have a kind of short vowel sound that ends a word, and then the next word after it is also a vowel or a diphthong sound that begins the word, they will just drop that short vowel sound a lot. It's not always, but on a lot of these words they will drop it, and it's mostly like these short little words that are, words that mean like but or and or in or any of those kinds of words, prepositions or conjunctions, that kind of just kind of tie sentences or clauses together. They will do this. Okay, they'll drop letters off of the end if a vowel sound is beginning the following word. As an example I've given you here, okay, you have these two words. The first word is delta, iota, alpha, and so it's pronounced dia. And then the second word, notice it starts with a diphthong, and so you have a smooth breathing mark over the upsilon there. Alpha upsilon with a smooth breathing mark. Then tau omicron upsilon. Okay. This word is pronounced au-tu. Okay, au-tu. So together, this says dia au-tu. This phrase in English means by him. All right, through or by him. And notice, yeah, you have this little word there, dia, and then the next word begins with a diphthong. And so, rather than saying dia, then having to take a breath and saying au-tu, they would just kind of blend those sounds together, and you have di au-tu. To make it totally clear for people, again, who are probably, learning language, we're going to drop that alpha on dia, at the end of dia, and then to indicate that a letter has been dropped, we're going to put that apostrophe there. It's a lot like in English, right? You have things like will not contracts to won't, and to tell you that, an O has been dropped out of the not, you put an apostrophe there. Same thing in Greek. Okay. The next one, these next two, they don't appear a lot at all. I only included them because the textbook did. The next one is called a diaeresis. As far as I can tell, that's how you pronounced it. Diaeresis. And this one, it looks like a German umlaut. Okay, two little dots next to each other, and they will appear over a vowel. And what this means is that you pronounce the vowels separately. Okay, if you have a diphthong, you every once in a while will have a diaeresis over the second letter of the diphthong. And what this simply means is that normally you pronounce these like a diphthong, but here we are going to pronounce them separately. Okay, these two vowel sounds are going to be separated instead of being pronounced like a diphthong. Okay, and most of the examples that I've seen are borrowed words from other languages. As an example here, I've given you this word, eta, sigma, alpha, iota, alpha, sigma. This is the proper name Isaiah, as written in Greek. It is a smooth breathing mark with an eta, and so this is A. That is a capital eta, by the way. It's not an H. Yeah, I'm not having you learn the capitals, but that is what a capital eta looks like. It looks like an English H. So this is said E, sa, I, as. And here's where that diaresis comes in. Notice it is over that iota, and normally alpha iota, right, is a diphthong. I. But here with the diaresis, it's telling you pronounce the alpha and the iota separately, so you're going to pronounce it a-i. Okay, a, sa, I, as. Not a, si, as. Which is actually closer to how you say it in English, I know. But, yeah, in Greek and in Hebrew, okay, it's pronounced more like a, sa, I, as. Alright, so that's a diaresis, just telling you about the exceptions to the diphthong rule. Okay, we're going to separate out those vowels in the diphthong and pronounce them separately. So now here, the last one is called the coronus. Okay, the coronus is what happens when you take two words and you squish them together. There are only a couple of examples of this that I even know. Okay, but one of them, the most common one by far, is this combination here, kappa alpha iota, chi, which means and then epsilon with a smooth breathing mark, gamma, and omega. Ego. Ego is the word for I. Okay, as in like the pronoun referring to myself. Okay, I. So these two words together, chi, ego, most often you will see them, and they won't appear separately like that. They will appear as one word, okay? They take those two short words, and they appear enough together that they've just kind of combined them into a single word, and the word becomes kago. And to show that, yeah, these two words have been smushed together, and these were originally two separate words, they will put essentially a smooth breathing mark over the alpha. But you know that it can't be a smooth breathing mark because that alpha does not begin the word. Okay, kago. But yeah, to show you that, yeah, these were originally two words, they will put that coronus over the alpha. And the coronus just looks like an apostrophe or like a smooth breathing mark. But it is found in the middle of the word, so that's how you know that it is a coronus. Yeah, so those are your punctuation marks and diacritical marks. I think this is the last slide that I have for you. These are the Greek accents. Now, you'll be very thankful to note that we are not going to go into accents and rules for Greek accents. When I took Greek, I first took Greek in high school. Our math teacher kind of was just interested in Greek and offered it as a class. And when I went through that class, it was more of a classical Greek style, and so we had to learn the accents. Very complicated list of rules, and they would need an entirely new chapter to explain them. Okay, and so for the scope of this class, we're not going to be discussing them pretty much at all. Okay, I will not be writing them like I won't be writing words with accents. For the most part, there are a couple of exceptions, but I'll tell you about those. Most modern textbooks and Greek classes don't worry about accents, so don't worry that, you know, you're like gonna fall behind, or that if you go to seminary or something, you're going to, you know, miss out, or you're not gonna know what's happening. Most of your modern Greek classes don't worry about this. Okay, maybe if you go and study like Homeric Greek, you'd have to learn it, but yeah, most of, like, go to seminary at Andrews or here at La Sierra, you don't have to worry about accents. Okay, for the scope of this class, the only thing that I'm going to have you learn about accents is know the names. Okay, know the names of, there are 3 Greek accent marks, and I'd like you to just, yeah, know what they're called and like how to identify them. Okay, just so that, you know, if I mention, like, you know, here's an accent, you know what I'm talking about. The first one is called an acute accent, and this one is fairly common in, you know, over a number of languages. Okay, the acute accent, it kind of is going on it's like a diagonal, right? A short diagonal line over a vowel, okay? And the diagonal line is sloping kind of down to the left. Okay, that is the acute accent. And it just indicates, yeah, put the stress on this syllable. Okay. Your next accent is called the circumflex accent, and this one is actually written in a couple of different ways. I tried a whole bunch of fonts so that you could see an example of both kinds of circumflex accents. There really isn't any difference in them. They're just written differently or printed differently. But I couldn't get an example of the second kind. Okay, when you get your textbook, the textbook has a printing that is the alternate version of this. Okay, so one way to do a circumflex accent is, as you see here, okay, over the alpha, it kind of looks like, I think in English that's called a tilde. But you know, in Spanish you have this over the letter N, and it turns it into an enya. Okay, that little wavy kind of wiggly line over the letter. Okay, and in this case, okay, it's an accent mark, and it's called a circumflex accent. The other way is it's just kind of a simple arc. Okay, rather than kind of being a wave, it's just kind of an arc that curves over the letter. All right, that's a circumflex accent. And then the last one is called the grave accent. Okay, it's spelled like grave, but it's pronounced grave. It might even be grava, but I've heard it pronounced grave with that kind of ah sound, open A sound. This one looks exactly like the acute accent, but it's sloping the opposite way. Okay, the acute accent, it kind of slopes down and to the left. This one, the grave, it slopes down to the right. All right, so those are the names of the three accent marks. My understanding of this is that really, really ancient Greek, this is going back like before 700 BCE or so, okay, like way back when it first started speaking Greek. People spoke Greek with what are called tonal accents. If you've ever heard somebody speaking Chinese, Chinese is probably the most widespread language that has a tonal accent, where they will actually raise the tone of their voice to indicate what accent it is, and so different tones can actually mean different words. Okay, if you listen to a Chinese person speak, we have lots of Chinese people at our church, and so they've kind of been telling me about this. A word like ma, okay, in Chinese, if you pronounce it ma, or if you say it ma, they're two different words. Okay, they're spelled out. They make the exact same sound, but the accent is different. Okay, and so it's a tonal accent. Ma or ma. Greek used to have that. Okay, we think that Greek used to have tonal accents, and these three accent marks, the acute, circumflex, and grave accents, kind of told people which tone to use. Okay, whether it was a high tone, a intermediate tone, or a low tone. But thankfully, since then, Greek has lost that, so it's a lot less complicated, and all of these are just now a stress accent, okay, telling you which syllable to kind of accentuate. So those are the three accent marks in Greek: acute, circumflex, and grave. Now I have included here, on very rare occasions, you do have words that will look identical to each other, with the exception of the accent mark. And if that is the case, I will point those out, and I will actually ask you to memorize the word with the accent mark. Okay, so you know which word we're talking about. As an example here, I've given you two words. They're spelled exactly the same way. Okay, epsilon iota, and that epsilon iota has a smooth breathing mark on it. Then mu iota, okay, pronounced a-me. But they're two different words, okay? If you have an acute accent on the final iota, a-me, it means I am. If you have a circumflex accent over the diphthong, it would be pronounced a-me. and it's I will go. Okay, so a me, accent on the second syllable is I am. A me, with the accent on the first syllable is I will go. Okay, there are only a few of these. Okay, a me, I am or I will go is one of them. There's another one, the word a, just epsilon iota with a smooth breathing mark. If there is no accent, it means if. Okay, a with no accent is if. If it is a with a circumflex accent over the iota, it means you are. Okay, and so yeah, there's a couple of these instances where we'll have words that otherwise look identical with the exception of the accent, and I may have you learn the accent marks for those, but in that case it's only for the purpose of identifying which word it is. I'm not going to ask you to know the rules of why the accents are placed there. Alright, so those are the letters, sounds, and little markings of Greek. Okay, thank you for your attention through this. This video is going to be quite long, and I apologize for that. So thank you for following along with this. And once your textbook comes, you can just have a look at that and not need to worry about this. Okay, but yeah, for now, have a look at the letters, especially practice making your letters. Okay, you can practice writing them, and maybe start writing just like combinations of letters and putting words together or something.